Good evening. Here is the news at 6. First, the highlights. Governor Sanwo-Olu reaffirms commitment to promoting green business practices. Federal government to flag off Section 3 of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway in December. Under foreigns and British Prime Minister pledges more growth reforms. And in sport, Team Nigeria set to make first appearance at the 2024 World Sambo Championship in Astana, Kazakhstan. Now the details. I am Taiwo Baruwa. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has reaffirmed the commitment of the state government to promoting green business practices and renewable energy in the state. Governor Sanwo-Olu said these at the opening ceremony of the Lagos International Trade Fair. 2024 was the theme, connecting businesses, creating value. Sanwo-Olu, who was represented by the Deputy Governor, Obafemi Hamzat, noted that his administration has prioritized initiatives that reduce the state carbon footprint, conserve its environment, and embrace renewable resources. Sanwo-Olu therefore invite all businesses and stakeholders in and outside the country to align with the values it's created, noting that the government works together with them towards a more sustainable Lagos for generations to come. While noting the importance of the theme, which resonates deeply with the collective vision for Lagos, Governor Sanwo-Olu said the mission of the state government is to position Lagos as a regional hub and a thriving global marketplace, one that harnesses the energy, resilience, and ingenuity of its people to drive forward economic prosperity and sustainable development. Members of the House of Representatives Committee on Ecology Funds have visited Lagos for a first-hand experience of some erosion-prone areas to ensure that all appropriated funds are properly applied. The team, led by the Vice Chairman of the committee, Oyedeji Oyeshino, were received by the Commissioner for the Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab. Addressing newsmen after the tour, Oyeshino said the team was in Lagos just as it has gone round some other state in the geopolitical zone to finding a lasting solution to erosion challenges in the state. Oyeshino explained that the federal government had decided to pause on the use of the ecological funds in order to allow the committee to conduct a holistic assessment and advise federal government on the subsequent disbursement of the funds to state appropriately. He stressed that part of the mandate of the committee is to ensure that all communities affected by erosion and other ecological issues are adequately catered for when the funds are allocated. Earlier in his welcome address, the Commissioner for the Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, expressed optimism that residents of the erosion-prone areas in the state would have cause to enjoy the benefits of the funds. Wahab emphasized that it is very essential for the federal and state government to collaborate in ensuring a sustainable development of all parts and providing a quality living environment for all residents. The federal government has released funds for the payment of withheld salaries to the Non-Academic Staff Union of Universities, NASU. This is a conciliatory step by the federal government in addressing long-standing salary arrears and supporting federal university staff, some of whom have embarked on strike. According to Director of Press and Public Relations, Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, Bawa Mokwa, the federal government has also allocated funds to cover benefits for retirees under the Nigerian Union of Pensioners Contributory Pension Scheme sector, further demonstrating its commitment to honoring pension obligations. Mokwa said payments have commenced, with numerous NASU members confirming receipt of their salaries. He added that the development is part of broader measures aimed at resolving financial grievances within Nigeria's higher education sector and improving the welfare of both active and retired personnel. Now to the rest of the stories. The Minister of Works, David Umahi, has confirmed that Section 3 of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway will be flagged off before mid-December. Umahi, who stated this during inspection tour of the first phase of the project in Lagos alongside members of the National Assembly Joint Committee on Works, explained that the delay in that section would span through Akwa Ibom and Cross River State was occasioned by security challenges. He said construction of the coastal highway was never abandoned, as speculated in some quarters, appealing to the lawmakers to investigate rumors before serving summons on his ministry in order to avoid unnecessary distractions on progress of operations of the project.
If you are on this alignment illegally, you're not supposed to be paid. But Mr. President, out of a compassionate heart, directed that we should pay. We even paid Bacha. We are not supposed to pay for, Bacha, temporary structures. But people elected to go to court, and so I'm appealing to the National Assembly to understand that all those things are distractions. And subsequently, it's advisable that any committee, for example, that wants to invite works, let them clear with the two, committee chairmen.
The minister advised aggrieved persons to stop politicizing the coastal highway project, but rather approach the courts, adding that the president was magnanimous in paying compensations to owners of illegal structures. Members of the committee assured of adequate support amidst petitions allegedly slowing down the pace of work on the coastal road, addressing that the National Assembly will ensure success of the project. Chairman Senate Committee on Works, Barinada Mpege, advised the Minister of Works, David Umahi, to always make recourse to members of the Joint Committee on Works at the National Assembly on the event of unforeseen circumstances.
And I must commend Mr. President for this bold step of his. This is geared towards bringing our economy back. Like I've always said, for every society to thrive economically, road infrastructure is key, and that is what President Tinubu is doing. As Parliament, we will continue to back Mr. President by making necessary appropriation to make sure this job doesn't suffer funding.
Our correspondent Abiola Fagbalago reports that the Minister of Works, David Umahi, reiterated that Section 1 of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway will be delivered by May 2025. Wife of the President, Oluremi Tinubu, has called on Nigerian women to rally round other women seeking for elective positions, encourage them and actively support them. Mrs. Tinubu made the call at the All Progressives Congress APC Women National Summit and Dialogue in Abuja, was the theme empowering APC women for leadership and nation building. The event had in attendance wife of the Vice President, First Lady of Gambia, National Assembly members, State First Ladies, Deputy Governors, women leaders of the APC from across Nigeria, and members of the diplomatic community. Mrs. Tinubu explained with personal examples that the best persons to understand a woman is another woman, urging the national women leader of the party to team up with other APC state women leaders to make a representation of the National Assembly to further push for legislation to increase the quota of women that must have seats at the Assembly. In a related development, ARGA Development Communications and the UN Women have stressed the need for greater inclusion of women in political leadership. This came to fore at a media training aimed at advancing women representation, themed Advance Women in Political Participation, AWPP, highlighting the role of the media in influencing women's representation in political leadership. They harped on the importance of reporting female participation in politics for societal development. The facilitator, Jesu Dunsi Olusoya, said that there are a lot of legal frameworks in Nigeria that are favorable to women, but implementation remains the issue, noting that continued advocacy and community involvement is essential to amplify women's voices and representation. Olusoya urged women practitioners to continuously include women representation and narrative while covering politics and to keep challenging stereotypes. In foreign news, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has promised reforms to speed up the economy and overhaul the public sector after the Labour government first budget failed to boost the growth outlook and sent government bond prices into a two-day dive. Finance Minister Rachel Reeves had on Wednesday announced a plan that included big increases in tax, borrowing and spending. But Britain's budget watchdog judged that economic growth beyond next year would be weaker than it previously thought. British government bond prices fell in the hours after her speech and again on Thursday, sending borrowing costs up sharply before stabilizing on Friday. Writing in the Financial Times on Saturday, Starmer said the budget was a first step in his mission for growth, but also opened the way for reform of cracking central state and its public services, as well as more private sector investment. And while some analysts have said that without reform, the government may need to raise taxes again in future to fix the public sector, despite Reeves' pledge that her budget was intended to wipe the slate clean. In sport now, the Nigerian team is set to make its first appearance at the 2024 World Sambo Championships in Astana, Kazakhstan from November 6 till 10, following a successful debut at the African Beach Sambo Championships in Mexico. In Morocco, I beg your pardon. The tournament will feature men's and women's sports sambo, men's and women's combat sambo, and the men's SVI1 totally blind athletes, blind sambo with a total of 31 medals to be competed for by athletes from 80 countries. A significant highlight of the championship is the inclusion of women in combat sambo for the first time and the participation of blind athletes. The event will also serve as the final qualifying tournament for the World Games 2025 in Chengdu, China. Vice President and General Secretary of the Sambo Association of Nigeria, Sharif Hamid, views the upcoming event as a groundbreaking opportunity. Nigeria will be represented by African women's champion Charity Jatau, James Chakwam, and Alani Balogun, while presenting the sole African competitor in the blind event, Samuel Kekere. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has expressed sadness over the sudden death of the chairman of Onigbongbo Local Council Development Area, LCDA, Oladotun Olakanle. Governor Sanwo-Olu, in a condolence message, said Olakanle's death is a colossal loss to Onigbongbo LCDA, the All Progressives Congress, APC, and Lagos State as a whole. Olakanle, popularly called Tantolorun, died on Saturday after a brief illness at the age of 54. The governor sympathized with the immediate family of the departed, his friends and associates, members and leaders of the Lagos State All Progressives Congress APC, Conference 57, and the entire people of Onigbongbo LCDA over the death of the late council chairman. May the soul of the departed rest in peace. But just before we go, always carry out adequate and proper checks on your vehicles before setting out. You can follow us and like all our various social media platforms: X at Traffic Radio 961, Facebook Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM, Instagram Lagos Traffic Radio 961. Subscribe and watch our news and programs live on YouTube at Traffic Radio 961. You can also visit our website www.trafficradio961.ng. Did you know that the Sanwo-Olu administration supplied 86,000 dual furniture sets to 775 public schools? You can get more details on the Lagos State Government website. To end the news, here are the highlights of the major stories. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has reaffirmed the commitment of the state government to promoting green business practices and renewable energy in the state. Minister of Works David Umahi has confirmed that Section 3 of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway will be flagged off before mid-December. We also told you that British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has promised reforms to speed up the economy and overhaul the public sector after the Labour government's first budget failed to boost the growth outlook and sent government bond prices into a two-day dive. Finally, in sport, the Nigerian team is set to make its first appearance at the 2024 World Sambo Championship in Astana, Kazakhstan from November 6 till 10, following a successful debut at the African Beach Sambo Championships in Morocco. For contacts with the newsroom, send a message to info@trafficradio961.ng. That ends the news broadcast compiled by Adirayo Idowolaya. I am Taiwo Baruwa. Thank you for listening. Good evening.